Hi, I'm Dave Stiegel, a shareholder at Lawton Cates. Thanks for taking a couple minutes to check out this video. Today I'm going to answer a question, whether you have to identify yourself to a police officer. As always, if there's anything that you hear me talk about in this video that raises a question or you want to make a comment on, feel free to do so directly either through YouTube by leaving a comment or a question in the link below the video, or this link has a link to my firm's website with all my contact information, my phone number and email. You're always welcome to contact me directly as well. So today, the question comes actually from a comment or a question that was posted in response to another video. And that question is, do you have to identify yourself to a police officer? So the short answer is no. In Wisconsin, there's no legal obligation that you identify yourself to a police officer. So let me unpack that a little bit. If you're stopped in public, if a police officer simply approaches you in public and asks you what your name is and there's no suspicion of wrongdoing, you have no legal obligation to answer that question or any other question from a police officer. But there's no legal obligation that prevents the police officers from asking you questions or at least trying to get you to identify yourself. Now, there is a statute that does permit the police to temporarily seize or detain you in order to seek your identity. So that statute requires first that the person identify himself or herself to you as a police officer. Sometimes, oftentimes, especially if a police officer is in full uniform, everyone knows that person's a police officer, but that's not always the case, especially if undercover police officers are involved. So the person must clearly identify themselves as a law enforcement officer. Second, they can detain you for what's called a reasonable period of time in public and demand your name, address, and an explanation of what you're up to if they have reasonable suspicion that you have either committed a crime or you violated some other civil, traffic, or civil forfeiture law. So reasonable suspicion, relatively low standard. It has to be more than a hunch, but less than probable cause. So if the police officer identifies himself or herself to you and then, at least according to the police officer, believes that they have reasonable suspicion, they can demand your name and address and ask you what you're up to. Now, you don't have to answer them. In fact, declining to answer or refusal to answer police questions is not grounds to arrest you for obstructing an officer. And refusal to cooperate with the police or to answer their questions does not generate probable cause in and of itself. If the police, during their interaction with you, have probable cause to arrest you and do arrest you, you'll most likely be identified during the booking process if you don't tell the cops your identity before then. Okay? So the strictly legal answer to the question is no, you don't have to identify yourself. Our stop and identify statute, sometimes that's what they're called, does not permit an arrest. Other states have different laws, so if you're watching this and you're outside of Wisconsin, I would check with a local criminal defense attorney about the law in your jurisdiction. There is a practical component to this as well, and I'll just say this. I know from experience, both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, that there's a fair number of police officers that may not appreciate the nuances of our stop and identify law and may arrest you for refusing to give your name and address. Even if the arrest doesn't go anywhere or is later deemed to be unconstitutional, you have to factor in the time and inconvenience to you that it's going to be in the delay of identifying yourself and your evaluation of whether the police officers are really adamant about knowing who you are. So there it is. I hope it's helpful to you. A question from the poster that I hope helps or clarifies some aspect of our laws here in Wisconsin. As always, if anyone, if you have a question or a concern or you want a follow-up question about something that I talked about, again, feel free to contact me. Either leave a question in the comment section here if it's appropriate to do so, or you can contact me. We can talk in private, either on the phone or via email. Okay? I appreciate your time and attention watching this video. Again, my name is Dave Stiegel. I'm a shareholder at Lawton Cates, and I'll talk to you a different time. Thank you.